Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to today's video. We're going to have a look at the weather for the next 10 to 14 days. Well, today's video, day 10, will take us to the 19th of June, and we'll be able to extend out beyond that with the extended GFS and ECM ensembles because they run to around a couple of weeks. We'll have a look at CFS at the end of the video for the next 4 weeks, which will get us into the beginning of July. So I'll get on with that for you in a moment. I want to say thank you once again so much for all of the incredible messages that you've been sending about the death of my mum, Mrs. P, who we lost on the 27th of May. So thank you so much. The response, the love has been overwhelming. It's been amazing and it's been unbelievable, really. So, you know, the support that you've shown to me and the love that you've shown to me and to the family and to Mrs. P as well is incredible, and it has helped so much during this you know, this dark period between her death and like the funeral, which is going to be a week tomorrow on the 17th of June. So thank you, just thank you so much, and I want you to know how much of a help it's been to me and to the family, over the past week or two. So thank you so much, everybody, for doing that. And I'm doing okay, on fine. Sad time. Lots to sort out, of course, as ever, when somebody passes, but I'm all right. So thanks so much, everyone. Right, okay, we're going to start off having a look at the GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles next couple of weeks. So the red line is a 30-year upper air temperature average for Leeds. We're starting off around to a little bit above average. At the moment, we go a little bit below average again to the early part of next week. And then we might actually see later next week our first sort of temperature spike of the summer. It's a way off. It's like a week or so away, a week to 10 days away. But there is perhaps increasing signs that we might see the temperature really begin to push up, as we go into the end of next week. Probably only lasting 2 or 3 days and then coming back down again. And also, it's only a brief temperature spike. Of course, these temperature spikes are something that have been relatively common over the past few summers, really since around 2016, I think, or maybe 2015 was the first summer that we had one of these big temperature spikes in an otherwise relatively mediocre summer, actually, for 2015. But most summers these days do seem to get these big sort of temperature spikes, and this might be our first one. We have got some very hot outliers, I think, and notably that one, which of course is an extreme outlier, but other ensemble members are certainly going between plus 15, plus 20 at 850 HPA, which would get the temperature well into the 30s Celsius. Even if we don't get as hot as that, it does also say there's going to be a pretty big push up in temperature towards the last stages of next week, potentially, before rather quickly, and perhaps involving thunder, temperature comes back down. It's also going to be quite a lot of dry weather over the next few days. As we go into the second half of June, though, we might see a trend to things turning rather unsettled, especially so around here, somewhere around the 19th, 20th of June, when the upper air temperatures and the surface temperatures are coming back down again. So, as I say, that spike in the temperature, if we do get a temperature spike, it might involve some thunder. That's just on release. As you go a bit further south to London, and that's a 6-day ensemble, so let's have a look at the midnight ensemble. So there we see a few more of those hot outliers, just over a week away. So there is signs here, but we might get our first temperature spike of the summer. Obviously, we've got to wait and see whether this, the models go with this trend over the next 2 or 3 days. But at the moment, it looks as though the first temperature spike of summer could be on the way as we get into the last stages of next week, and sort of around days 8, 9, 10. Temperature anomalies on the 9th to 17th of June around to maybe a little bit below average, especially so for the northern half of the country. So this temperature spike is beyond sort of the week time frame. So for the next 7 days, it does look as though the trend is towards rather cool weather. And as far as precipitation is concerned, from the 9th to 17th of June, England and Wales significantly drier than average. Scotland and Northern Ireland a little bit wetter, especially so to western areas. Latest wind flow map from earthnullschool.net shows up bringing in wind from off the Atlantic today, so it remains relatively fresh with those west to southwest winds. Deep area of low pressure container remains of tropical storm Alex in the Atlantic just there. Right, so let's start going through some chart data then. This is how the UK Met Euro run. It's looking midnight on Sunday, where we're flat westerly, mainly dry in the south with this ridge of high pressures here, but more unsettled further north. Only part of next week, so high pressure will ridge up from the Azores and bring drier weather to England and Wales anyway, and relatively fine conditions. Still a little bit unsettled though for Scotland and for Northern Ireland. Heading through the middle part of the week, this gets us to the 16th of June, a week out, and still rather westerly then, with a trough of low pressure pushing through the northern half of the country, bringing some showery outbreaks of rain. Icon looks like that, so again on Sunday, a ridge building into the southwest. That should bring quite a dry weather with it, more unsettled with this area of low pressure further to the north. We push on into the early part of next week, and again, we're looking rather flat and westerly with the most unsettled weather in the northern half of the country. Southern areas should be mostly dry. And into the middle of next week, still looking a little bit changeable, especially so for more northern and western areas. That's how it looks as we get to the end of Icon, which gets us to midday on Thursday, 16th of June, with a ridge down in the south. But still rather westerly, still rather flat. So no sign of anything particularly hot doing there up to like this time next week. This is how the GFS midnight run is looking. Again, got a ridge into the southwest on Sunday, could bring some relatively dry weather then. And then through the early part of next week, the ridge strengthens in the south, but still a little bit more unsettled out to the north and to the northwest. Second half of next week, start to see the heat building across France. We've got plus 15 Celsius iceberg in northern France. It's looking pretty hot through France, Spain and Portugal. Relatively cool away to the north and west of the country. And then through the end of the week, so this is Friday 17th of June, when again we're starting to find that heat just beginning to seep up from the south from France. So you see temperatures are becoming hotter across the more southern areas. It's actually got plus 20 Celsius iceberg into northern parts of France. So already this summer, the plus 20 Celsius iceberg looks like it's going to be really close to southern England by the time we get through to the end of next week. Now, I think you just get like a glancing blow really from that heat with the GFS midnight run. So this area of low pressure starts coming in from off the Atlantic Ocean. We do pull some of that hot air into the far southeast corner around Friday to Saturday. So by the end of next week, you could be seeing temperatures around 30 degrees across the more southern and southeastern areas, but it is only quite temporary. We don't tap into extreme heat on this GFS run. It's like across many parts of the continent. And then this area of low pressure sweeps aside that hot weather, might involve some thunder during the weekend of the 18th, 19th of June. And then we're back into a much cooler run of westerly winds with showers or longer spells of rain beyond daytime, Atlantic-driven flow with low pressure coming in. That gets us all the way to Saturday the 25th of June, which of course is right in the middle of the Glastonbury Festival. Glastonbury updates will be starting probably tomorrow evening. I'll try and get one done for Glastonbury. And it looks unsettled up to the 25th of June with low pressure bringing cooler and unsettled conditions. So a temporary heat spike for a couple of days at the end of next week, and then it's gone, and we're back into cooler, more unsettled Atlantic-driven weather on the midnight run. This is how the GFS 6 there is looking very latest. So again, watching high pressure strengthening across the southern half of the country for the early part of next week, more unsettled further north into the middle part of next week. Again, high pressure reaching through the country, brings lots of dry, fine weather, and that high pressure ridge carries on sending in from the southwest into the second half of next week as well. We are very close to some really hot air, but so the content, perhaps pulling up a little bit more of that hot air with the GFS 6 there compared to midnight run. Look at that, plus 15 Celsius iceberg by 6 a.m. on Saturday, 18th of June, covering the whole of England and Wales. And we have actually got the plus 20 Celsius iceberg there, just flirting with southeastern England. Plus 20 Celsius, 858, but it used to be a very rare and common occurrence like 30 years ago. You hardly ever saw it. Now we seem to see it surging northwards from Africa and Spain virtually every summer. So we may not quite tap into it, but it's certainly very, very close there on the GFS 6 head run. And France is looking really hot, you'll notice, with temperatures way above 20 degrees in terms of the upper air temperature. So this is definitely like a heat surge, heat spike, pushing northwards across the southwest of Europe anyway, through the latter stages of next week. Again, soon to a midnight rate, very quick, gets swept away as this area of low pressure comes in off the Atlantic. So very quickly by Sunday 19th of June, that heat is being swept away into Germany, and cooler air coming in from the Atlantic. Again, that might involve some thunder. We'll know much more closer to the time frame. And then beyond that, again with GFS 6, they're just looking rather cool and unsettled. Then with low pressure west of Scotland bringing showers or longer spells of rain in from off the Atlantic Ocean all the way up to Saturday 25th of June. That looks like that low there around Newfoundland looks like it could be the remnants of some sort of tropical storm and or hurricane type feature. So looking quite unsettled and cool after that brief 2 or 3 day heat spike around the 17th and the 18th of June. If you're enjoying this video, then please can you like, share, subscribe. Thank you so much, everybody, for doing that. Moving on to GEM, it's looking like this. So again, as you go into open next week, high pressure will be strengthening from the Azores, rebuilding this ridge from the southwest, being quite a dry weather with it. As we go into the last stages of next week, again, low pressure out to the northwest, up in further shower rain into the north. Meanwhile, further south, close to this 1020 millibar isobar, it's drier and a little bit warmer then. Up to day 10, it just looks like we're turning increasingly unsettled with low pressure developing around the west of Europe. Not much in the way of heat being pulled in, I don't think, around day 10. We're on the periphery of it. So, again, it does look very hot across France. Not quite as far north with that plus 15 to 20 Celsius isotherm. That's Saturday 18th of June. So, the GM definitely not quite as extreme with the heat as like the GFS is, but around the 17th to 19th of June. But we aren't all that far away from it. And then the ECM looks like that. So once more, we're watching high pressure reaching in from the Azores from the southwest through the early part of next week, bringing increasingly dry weather with it. Through the middle part of next week, again, high pressure is sitting just to our west and southwest, reaching in from off the Atlantic, being quite a bit of dry and fine weather, and that high pressure carries on dominating weather up to the 19th of June. The ECM also turns hot with the 15 Celsius iceberg covering most parts of the country actually by day 10, and it looks more sustained as well actually with the ECM. So the GFS output is like a temporary heat spike, lasts a couple of days, probably gets really hot, but only lasts 2 days and then it's swept away. Whereas the ECM looks a little bit more sustained. The high pressure building across the west of Europe there looks stronger, and so potentially that could last 2 or 3 days. So that's not quite as extreme as like the GFS. The ECM could actually be a more sustained sort of hotter spell, lasting perhaps 3, 4, or even 5 days. This is the precipitation forecast based on that ECM run from TibetShow.com. So not much in way of rain over the next few days in the south and east. What showers, long spells of rain there is, will be primarily to the north and to the northwest. A little bit more unsettled there, perhaps towards the end of next week. This is Thursday next week, some shower rain pushing through then. But to be honest, much of the south looking dry much of the time. Most of the precipitation is away to the north and to the northwest. These are the yachts on the table within the ECM ensemble today for day 10, which gets us to the 19th of June. From the Icelandic Met Office, 20 members of the ECM ensembles, including the control and the operation run, have high pressure building from the south, sending low pressure and the jet stream northwards. So obviously that's turning drier and hotter. 17 with high pressure towards west and southwest. Low pressure is over to the east of the country. Winds are coming in from a west or a northwest direction, showery and cool with that. 9 with low pressure right through the country. That will bring unsettled weather with showers, longer spells of rain. And then 5 with a ridge from the Atlantic, from the Azores into West Europe, mostly dry and warm with that. Perhaps not overly hot, but certainly mostly dry and quite warm. In 2 weeks' time, these are the options that we've got. Gets us to the 24th of June. 19 members of the ECM ensembles again with high pressure to the west, low pressure over to the east. That will bring wind in from the north. Would be cool and unsettled. 13 with high pressure ridging in from off the Atlantic into Western Europe, mainly dry, potentially quite warm. 10 with high pressure away to the northwest, low pressure to our southwest. It's going to be more unsettled and potentially rather fungy. And the wettest way with that is into the south, actually, I would have thought. And then 9 with low pressure across the north and the west of Europe. And so that would be a rather cool and unsettled scenario. So there are a range of options on the table by the time we get through to day 14, 2 weeks' time. Most of them, it has to be said, do look quite unsettled. And perhaps a little bit ominously less so. Lastly, CFSB2 is a 500 millibar high zone is broken down into week periods. The first week period will take us from the 8th to the 14th of June. The coming week has low pressure rate to the northwest, high pressure to the south-southwest. We bring in the wind from off the Atlantic, so rather unsettled and quite mixed with that. No particular heat spike showing up there with CFS week 2. This is 15th, 21st of June, just as this low pressure tropical change. Well, that's a 7-day anomaly though. So within that, there might be like a day or two that turns briefly hot and then it's swept away. You know, something like that is still possible within that sort of 7-day window, anomaly window. But overall looks quite unsettled and potentially rather cool there. Week 2. Week 3 also looking unsettled. This is 22nd, 28th of June, still with that trough covering west of Europe. A little bit of northern blocking is involved in that, same with jets in south, so cool and quite wet in week 3. Week 4 shows a change, as CFS have been doing regularly in recent updates. This 29th of June to 5th of July, then high pressure takes over across Scandinavia. That will pull wind into the east, so potentially that is a much drier and also hotter start to July with high pressure in over Scandinavia and winds turning into the east or maybe even to the southeast. Have to see about that, of course. Right, if you enjoyed the video, then please can you like, share, subscribe. Thank you so much, everybody, for doing that. Drop a comment, let us know what you think about this and all of our videos. And don't forget to tell your friends and family to subscribe as well. Thank you so much. Right, so we're done with today's video then. We're back return to 14 day tomorrow. And I think we'll do a glacial update as well tomorrow. I've been trying to just do one video a day, you know, over the past week or two. But so many people are asking for updates of Glastonbury, and I have not been able to do any glacial updates here for 2 or 3 years. So I would like to do a few updates of the Glasso crowd. So I think I'll do one of those tomorrow evening, but before that there'll be a 10 to 14 day. Well, you enjoy the rest of your Thursday. I'll see you tomorrow, and for this video that's all for now, and thanks for watching.